o'clock. Yes. And we're live. Welcome to Talk About It Tuesdays. Live, y'all. I am Lady G, and you are at the G spot. Let me turn my volume down. Co-host Bo Black will be joining us late. He is on CP time, so we will wait on him when he arrives. We have a special person with us this evening, Seth Moses Caine, all the way from Brooklyn, stand up, joining us to talk about his works and his writings. So thank you, Seth, for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Before we get started, I just want to talk about a quick thing. Last week we had a couple of guests on. Shout out to all the guests that joined. We appreciate, we love y'all. I want to give a special prayer and message and just send my love to Shell from ATL. I'm assuming it's okay for me to state this because she made it a public post today that she tested positive for COVID. So we want to send our well wishes to her and speedy recovery. And we love you. So get well, boo. So shout out Shell. And then make sure y'all chime in on the chat, in the comment section with your questions, with your feedback. And then of course, anything that you want to add. Next week, we will have a freestyle show. It'll be a cipher session. And then of course, again, we're taking the month off in December, refining some things. But next year, we got some brand new stuff coming to y'all. We got gamers coming on. We got fashion designers coming on, all types of different artists, authors. And so we're excited about that. Again, this artistry thing is what we love. So thank y'all for joining in each week. Showing the love, the support is so real, so much appreciated, like beyond words. So I'm gonna get off my soapbox and let the show begin and continue with Seth. So Seth Moses Caine. Whew. So I had a chance to read some of the excerpts that you sent me, and we're going to talk about those in a minute. But first, I just want to start off with, as I try to do a little research before people come on. And one of the things I learned about you is that you were a professional dancer prior to becoming a writer.
It's true.
So tell me about that. Well, first of all, kudos, shout out. I love dance. I love that art form. That's my thing. So I have a little bit of a bias there. But how did that transition happen?
It was in college. It was just me taking a few classes, really, at Long Island University in Brooklyn. Um, it wasn't. It turned out that it wasn't really my great passion, though. So it was great. The exercise was great. The people were phenomenal, but it never really amounted to much beyond my college experience.
Okay. Did you feel like you couldn't go anywhere with that?
Um, I I just got the feeling that that wasn't what the my life was meant for, that I was supposed to be doing other things.
Okay.
So I went on a bit of a self-reflective journey to find out who I was and what I was supposed to be doing in life.
Okay. Well, hey, at that early age, when you got that whole reflection all figured out, honey, that's good. Some of us are still trying to get it together. Okay.
I feel like I am too, but it's a process, right? Where we're all on life's journey together. So it's all of us day to day figuring out who we are and who we want to be.
Absolutely. So how long have you been writing then? Did you start that right away after you had this?
I had always been writing for myself since I was 8 years old. I've been writing all types of genres, but it was really just to entertain me and my friends. It wasn't until probably my mid to late 20s that I thought that I should start doing this professionally. And then I published my first book in 2018, and I don't even know if I was ready for that, but I knew that I had told my mother that I wanted to be a writer and I wanted to show her something while, we were all still together. I had I had missed my chance for my grandmother to be able to see any of my work published. So I knew that I wanted to make sure that my mother was still here and my father was still here when I was publishing my books.
So has she had a chance to read any?
She is not. My mother was. She had a series of strokes,
Oh,
and
I'm sorry.
she was in a nursing home. But when I published the first book, I went to her in the nursing home and I told her that I did it. And even though she wasn't responsive, or she had not been responsive really, she seemed to recognize the book that I showed her, and she seemed really excited about it.
That's absolutely beautiful, Seth.
Yes.
Wow. I bet that was meaningful to have that,
Yes.
yeah.
And
So,
it became it's a memory that I still hold on to now because I did that back in 2018, and she passed away earlier this year.
oh my
So
gosh.
she wasn't able to see all of this come to fruition, but she was at least able to see the start of it.
My deepest condolences for your loss.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. Well, and what can I say after that? But I'm sure she's still watching and proud. So,
Yes.
um, are there any authors that inspired you growing up?
Quite a few. I mean, I'm a big Stephen King fan, so even though I don't usually write horror, I have dabbled in it. He's a, great influence of mine. Just the fact that he has been able to create such large, sweeping universes that that overlap the way that they do. I mean, we talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and stuff like that and how it's all connected. And I'm like, well, Stephen King has been doing that for decades.
Yeah.
And with not that many problems cropping up over over the course of the few decades that he's done that. But I think one of my greatest influence was a writer named William Johnstone, and
Okay.
he's written like a million books. But he influenced me because I was reading one of his books and he did something just off the wall in the book. And I realized when I read it that I was holding myself back. I was editing myself, I was censoring myself. And when I saw what he was putting in his novels, I was like, that is a man who's writing in an unbridled format, and I knew that's what I wanted for myself as well. So I stopped holding myself back after that, and I really had to thank him and his writing for that.
Wow. So on the G Spot, we try to do a few questions here and there that relate to some of the shows that we do. And one of the questions that I asked people was, what's the most erotic book or piece of literature that you've read? And we had some interesting comments here. Um, a lot of the ladies like the Zane books. Um, we
I
had
love Zane as well.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love her. Brian Shutt, who talked about the 1909 edition of the works of Shakespeare, and he still has it. It's like, wow. You have Kanisha, and I can't even pronounce this Latin poet, Gaius Valeros, Catalyst. But he's done some explicitly sexually erotic kind of poetry. So that was one of the people. Um, you got Embers Flame, Rocking Cheyenne by Serendipity. So Donna recommended those. Again, Zane. Christina said she does her own thing. So I don't know if she meant video or if she's a writer, honey. Playboy. And then you have Anne Rice, Sleeping Beauty trilogy. They said I was not ready. I'm like, okay, I really have to get my hands on that. And of course, 50 Shades and Zane. So I thought, oh, this is really interesting to see the different types of things that appeal to people. Have you read any of those that were listed?
I've read Anne Rice. I really like the way that she's able to mix sexuality and gothic horror together. You'd really think that they wouldn't flow together, but they, in her hands, it really works. So I've read that. Zane, of course. Um, I've read Shakespeare. I don't think I've read some of his racier stuff. I know it's out there, but I haven't really partaken when it comes to that. But quite a few. I know that there's a relatively new author, Tracy Wilson,
Mhm.
and she's one of my favorites now too. She wrote the erotic zombies stories, and it's just what it sounds like.
So the zombies
you
need a
have
little loving
you
too?
have this mesh of horror and eroticism, and it shouldn't work, but it absolutely positively does, and I love it.
Wow. You know, one of the things I find about writers, they're very interesting people, and some of them have the most twisted um, ways of thinking. I can relate to them. Normal people may call it twisted. So I'm always intrigued by that other part of some of you all, not all. Do you get writer's block? And what is that like?
Um, it happens very rarely. I find that I'm constantly working on lots of different projects. So if I ever hit a wall with one, I always have about 3 or 4 other projects open, and I'll just dip into one of those, work on that, and then by the time I've done that, whatever was blocking me with the first story has cleared up, and then I can jump back to that. But I do remember that there was a time that I don't know if you'd even call it writer's block per se. I had a professor who was just mean as I don't know what. And she made it like her personal mission to sort of ruin my self-esteem, particularly when it came to my writing. And she would make comments about, well, this isn't real, this isn't the way that you're supposed to speak about this, that, or the other, despite all of the research I've done. And then I would do the research, come back and say, well, according to these Dutch books here, you can. According to these African poets here, yes, you can. So I'd be overturning a lot of the stuff that she said, but just hearing her speak about my writing in the way that she did, I stopped. I just put the pen down and I stopped writing for like the longest time until I realized that you cannot let other people um, tear you down like that.
Yeah.
Some people, that's the only pleasure that they get out of life is destroying other people. And it's easy.
Yeah.
It's too easy to destroy things. You take a good hammer, you can break anything, knock anything down, knock down a building. It takes way more work to build a person up or to create something.
Wow.
And once I got past that, I went back to the writing and I never looked back. But whenever anybody was hypercritical to that level, I recognized it for what it was after that. I was like, well, no, we're not going down that road again.
Do you think that criticism created a fear in you, or maybe there was a fear that was there, but it heightened it, and so that caused that pause?
Looking back on it, I would say that the she probably just zeroed in on a fear that was already there. I know that a lot of artists have self doubt, like, and not just artists, just people in general have self doubt.
Yeah.
And if you have this doubt that maybe you're not good enough, or maybe you're a fraud and it's not, you don't have the talent, you don't have the right stuff, it's easy for someone to manipulate that into thinking that, well, you're right, all of your worst fears about yourself are correct, and you need to just not do anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just end up killing your own shine
Mm-hmm.
after that. And that's probably the greatest crime of all. Somebody else trying to kill your shine is one thing. You diminishing yourself is probably a million times worse than that.
Wow. Okay, well, you just keep on dropping these jewels, Seth. And I would even add that part of that fear was that professor's own projection onto you, right? And the fact that you found resources to support what you do and that ego not being able to accept that. Some people just, anyway. Um, so that, yeah, so I'm glad that you picked up a pen again and didn't let that defeat you.
I am too.
So what's your writing process like? Do you need to go and do like the guy on Misery and go, off into the mountains and then get stalked? Or do you need to like go off and retreat? Do you go on vacation? How does that work?
Well, I guess my process is I know that they talk about planners and pantsers. Me, I'm a planner to the 10th degree. I sit down and I make these complex outlines before I even start writing, to the point where the outline itself is basically its own short story.
Mm.
And it works that I to the point where I can either do it in a large group of people, like you see people who will be sitting at Starbucks or something like that, and they're writing there, or I can just seclude myself in the house and do it that way as well. But if my outline is strong enough, I can just sit there and everything just flows right onto the page or right onto the computer. Um, Personally,
What's the shortest amount of time it's taking you and the longest amount of time it's taking you to write a piece?
I guess the shortest amount of time has been maybe a month. I've been able to finish a book in a month,
Wow.
which I didn't realize I had that in me, but I was able to do that. But by the same token, I have another project that I've been working on for maybe the last 5 or 6 years or so, and it is maybe halfway done now.
Hmm.
So I have a project that's 6 years in the making. Who knows when it's actually going to get completed? And then I have something that I was able to finish in a month, and I feel I feel like both of them are my babies. They're just I love both of them equally,
Okay.
despite one taking more time than the other.
I was gonna say maybe you're putting more love and work into that one, but I guess maybe it's the process. Some things take a little longer.
Well, I know that sometimes you have characters who you do the outline and they are fine. They're like, okay, I'm the character will say what they say and do what they do, and you and your character are not fighting at all, and you'll be able to write the book and it comes out great. But then there are times when you have this outline and you want the characters to do something, and they'll be like, no, I'm not. I know you have X, Y, and Z planned for me, but I'm not going to do any of that. And as a writer, you just have to follow that character along their journey and see where it goes, no matter how long it takes.
Do you come up with these characters randomly? And I'm just showing a couple of your books here on Amazon, which has a really good about section on you too.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
so I thought that was nice. And you actually offer Kindle as well as the books, the paper
Yes.
books or hard copy. I'm not sure what copy is hard, soft. Um, so that's nice. I actually started reading the Bajan Heat, and oh my God.
Okay. Yeah, that one, with my characters, some of them just spring straight from the imagination, but I know that with Asian Heat, that one is really based on folks that I know actually. I know that I have some friends who have some pretty wild stories to tell on their own, and it's sort of based on that. So they're fictional accounts of actual things that actually occurred.
All right,
But
so we're gonna
Hello, hello.
pause. We're gonna
usually
pause
my
right
characters.
there and welcome Bo.
Hello.
What's up? Hello, Mr. Caine. How you doing, boss man?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. Pardon my lateness, but I got caught at the plantation.
Oh, I understand that completely.
Yeah, so Bo, thank you for coming on in. We was waiting on you, and we shouted out Brooklyn before you got here, but hopefully y'all can catch up. Y'all both are beautiful, right, Brooklyn. So y'all can kind of catch up afterward. So we were just talking about his writing process and talking about some of his works and his characters and how he comes up with them. But the majority of the books that we just talked about or we just showed are from the erotica genre, if you will. And I don't even know if you classify your books that way, Seth.
I do. I like to call it urban erotica.
Okay. Are you looking, I know we talked a little bit before we started today, are you looking to do other genres, and can you talk about the other things that you're doing?
Yep, I have this thought in my head that I'm going to try to do every genre. I just finished a horror novel. I'm looking for an agent to represent that. I have some nonfiction work, some collected essays that I'm trying to release as well. I think I'm probably going to save mysteries for last. Mysteries were actually the first thing I ever tried to write, and I could not get through it. I could not write a mystery that you could not solve within probably the first 30 pages or so. So I know I need to backtrack on that and do a little work on that before I revisit it. But I'm
Okay.
trying to make sure that I hit every single genre along this journey.
We had a
What's your
couple of
favorite genre
questions.
to write?
I'm sorry, Bo.
Oh, what was that?
Oh, I was just asking what was his favorite genre
Um,
to write.
my favorite genre to read is horror. That's my favorite genre to read. My favorite genre to write, um, you know what? So far, I would probably say science fiction.
Really?
Really?
Yeah,
Who are your
imagining the future has actually been my favorite genre. I know that when it comes to science fiction, I like to tell stories where we're still here and present. I know that Whoopi Goldberg tells this story about when she first saw Star Trek and she saw Nichelle Nichols. And the thing that struck her was that you see this black woman on the bridge of the Enterprise,
right?
and it lets you know that black people still exist in the future, despite the slings, despite the arrows, despite the adversity. You look at this future world, and we're still there
Mm-hmm.
right there on the bridge of the Enterprise. And when I'm writing science fiction, my focus is on Black people
Mm-hmm.
moving into the future, bringing this planet into the future. So that's my favorite genre to write.
It's
Hey, you ever
it,
noticed that in oh, sorry, go ahead, G.
no, go ahead, hon.
I was just gonna say, you ever noticed how in science fiction, when especially like movies and shows and stuff like that, when they show the future, everyone's all inclusive. It's just like it's just, it's always in the future. It's like they know right now they fucking up, but they figure they're gonna get it together in the future.
This is true. And one of the problems with that is that when you look at science fiction and you see that everyone's gotten their act together, people feel like that's something they don't have to work on. Like, oh,
Right.
we're just going to get there. At some point, we're just going to stop being racist. We're going to stop being sexist. We're just going to be great.
Right.
And they ignore the fact that for that to have happened, someone worked at that. People fought and they argued, and legislation was passed, and all types of stuff happened to get you from a world where you're trying to kill people just because of the color of their skin to a world where everybody's inclusive and living happily together.
Wow.
Right.
And people they want to skip the work. It's hard work, and people want to skip that. Like, Star Trek says we'll get there. We'll get there. I don't have to do anything.
It's always amazing to me how important books. It's not even amazing, and books are important, right? And a part of that is getting lost now that we become more socially, computerly, technically advanced. But a piece of that is missing. There's so much. You'll hear so many stories. Just the Whoopi Goldberg story, or people who had one little nugget of a book that changed their life, and these little things that have huge impact, lasting impacts on people. So that I don't want to get away from the lost art of literature. I think it's so important. But we have a couple of questions in the chat, and you may have touched on a couple of them, but people are watching. Amazing interview, one person said. Lots of hearts going through. One of the person wants to know, what's your most popular book, and can they order it on Kindle? I think it's clear that they can order it on Kindle. We showed that. But what's your most popular book?
So far, my most popular book is probably Beijing Heat. People are really enjoying that. It's actually the first book in a 3-part series. Um, so it's a great story of Black couples in their 30s and 40s living their best lives, and they decide to take a trip to Barbados to just get back in touch with each other as couples, because that's really important. You have the house, you have the job, you have the kids, and you start to sort of disconnect from each other after a while. If again, you're not working at it.
Mm-hmm.
So that story is really all about them working at being together. But it's also a book series, so drama also pops up where people are harboring things and they're keeping secrets, and secrets kill. And when these secrets come out, you have to wonder whether or not your friendships and your relationships can last through that, or if you can actually stay together even when you know these harsh truths. So
So,
that's probably the most popular book right now.
okay.
My personal favorite is probably the PTA series,
Mm.
just because
Mm-hmm.
it it's got erotica in it, and it's talking about families, but I also stuck some things in there that I wanted to talk about. Like, there are racist police officers and the school to prison pipeline, and I'm talking about all of that too. I'm like, yeah, you're gonna get your drama, but you're also going to face some of the societal ills, and we're gonna talk about how to work on them.
Wow. So I did like PTA. That was so I started the excerpt that you sent, and that was of a older woman, younger male dynamic there, and the Bajan Heat. I enjoyed the couple aspect of it. Just these couples coming together, like you say, doing well, and embracing other couples, and being open to the different styles of love and what that looks like, because a lot of people are, so there was some elements of maybe group sex and different things going on, polygamy perhaps. So that, along with these older, younger generational things, are these things that you've experienced and you bring into your writing, or is this just and I know you've talked about friends, but what about you?
Some of the things I've experienced, like the aspect of the May-December romance, I've experienced that in when I was younger. I guess now, I'm in the December part of my life, but back when I was in the May part of my life, I had a few relationships like that. So I definitely wrote about that. A few aspects. It's not a direct correlation between what happened to me in my youth, but I definitely drew inspiration from that. When it came to Beijing Heat, that's definitely based on some of the frustrations of being an older married person who does not necessarily have time to be a husband because you're so busy being a supervisor at work or a being daddy to your children, to the point where the day has come to an end and you're like, Me and my wife haven't really been husband and wife today.
Mhm.
I guess we'll work on that tomorrow. So, it's a delicate balance, and I definitely drew on that for that book too. So, real life heavily influences everything that I'm writing.
Do you try to practice some of those things in your own relationship?
Um,
In terms of being mindful of making sure that you take the time out with your family, with your wife, with
Definitely. I mean, it's definitely a struggle though, because you may be so focused on being mom and dad to the point where you've forgotten to be husband and wife, and it happens. But you have to keep reminding yourself that you made not just a commitment to your children, you made a commitment, you stood on at this altar and made a commitment to your spouse as well. So again, just like I was saying, when it comes to working at that future of inclusivity, it takes work. And I've noticed that a lot of people are not necessarily okay with putting work in. They're thinking that marriage should just be this thing that just comes easily and everything is fine all the time. I'm like, well, no. If it's something important, you're going to have to work at it.
Right.
What thing in your life do you not have to work at?
Right.
So we got G.I. Jackson who says, I have 3 of your books. I'm still waiting to get Bejan Heat. I love your books. And then Damien says, do you find balancing entertainment with social commentary in your writing difficult? Do you think more writers should do the same?
Um, See, I'm kind of torn on that last one. I mean, when it comes to mixing social commentary and entertainment, I do it, and it's extremely important for me. I just have a difficult time saying that all writers should do it. I feel like every artist should create the art that they want to create.
Mm.
I personally always feel that I need to make social commentary, but I don't want to tell another artist like, well, if you're not doing that, you're not really an artist. I'm like, we're all artists in different ways. There are times when I want to go to the movies and I want to see a movie about social justice, and then there are times I want to go to the movies and I just want to see cars driving fast and stuff blowing up. And both of them are okay. Um, I just feel that there should be a balance there. You should not be,
Preaching.
yeah, we should not just have just the one. You should not have nothing but Fast and Furious movies and no movies that are talking about how are we going to solve systemic racism, sexism, and everything else, all of the other societal ills.
Mhm.
You need both of those.
Mm.
And I've noticed that Hollywood tends to want to just give you popcorn movies. Like, just watch this movie. It's fun. I'm like, well, that's great. And we all need the escapism, but we also need to learn things. So I don't want to force other writers to do what I'm doing, but I definitely feel like they're both super important.
Writing requires a great deal of expression, creativity. A lot of people do a lot of their um, use their artistic ways as outlets for different things that they've gone through. Again, creative expression. What was one of the hardest things that you've gone through in your life?
Let's see.
And does that
Um,
play out in your work as well?
I know that probably one of the most striking things happened probably in my youth. It was probably the first time I was ever called the N word. And I was in junior high school. And I had never been called that before, but I knew the word. And I was running home from school. My school was just a few blocks away, and I'm running because I was not an athlete, but I loved running. And this old white man saw me running, and the first words out of his mouth is, "What did you steal?" Mm. And I stopped. It occurred to me that I'm just a little boy, but it occurred to me that this old white man thinks that I'm a thief just because of the color of my skin and just because he saw me running, because that's how he lives his life. You see a black man running, you see a black boy running, he stole something. He's a problem. And from that moment on, for one, I unfortunately for a long time I stopped running as much as I used to because it really hurt that someone would say that. But from that moment on, I just had to address things like that because ultimately it was not a problem with me. I can run all day long if I want to. The problem is you thinking that every time you see a black person in a certain area or a black person grilling somewhere or a black person jogging through the park, you thinking that he or she is not supposed to be there.
Mm.
And dealing with that and being cognizant of that is probably one of the hardest things that I've had to deal with, because I know we'd all probably rather just live our lives, right? We'd rather just go through our day like I'm going through my day and I'm fine without having to worry, well, I need to be careful when I'm passing these police officers, or I need to be careful that when I'm sitting on my steps in front of my house, that I'm not being too loud. That one of my new neighbors decides that he's going to call the police because a black person being loud is dangerous, while another race of people being loud, they're just celebrating.
Right.
So it's
You
probably
think
one of
black
the
people have
hardest
to
things
be
to do
constantly mindful of being black?
all the time, unfortunately.
And then white folks get mad when we talk about race all the time, when it's them that's always making it about race for us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay. For those who want to get into writing, for those who aspire to be writers, maybe they have writer's block, maybe they've lost that fire. Do you have any words of advice, any insight?
I do. The thing you have to do is don't stop writing, because a lot of people will give up. A lot of people will wonder if they have what it takes. And my thing has always been that everyone, every person walking the earth has a story to tell. Um, Not everyone's going to want to hear your story. That's fine, whatever. But just because there are people who don't want to hear your story doesn't mean that you shouldn't be telling it.
Mhm.
Tell your story. Everyone needs to tell their story, because if you don't tell your story, someone's definitely going to tell it for you. And I absolutely guarantee you they're going to get it wrong. And um, we've all seen that. We've all seen black people's stories being taken and told by somebody else, and it's absolutely wrong. If you tell your story, then you can guarantee that doesn't happen.
Absolutely.
Well, I had a question for you, Mr. Caine.
Okay.
I fancy myself a writer as well. I'm not published, but that was my question. Would you suggest to someone who's starting out to self-publish or go the more traditional route? And Which route did you go
I've gone the self-publishing route.
to?
Um, I wanted to explore all of the different aspects of writing, the editing, the publishing, the marketing. So that's the route that I took. If you're really good at marketing and promoting yourself, it's great.
Mhm.
Uh, for people who just want to focus on the writing and let other people do the marketing for you, you're definitely going to want to go the traditional route
Mhm.
because it's hard. It's hard to sell yourself for some people. Like in some writers, they're solitary people. I just want to write the book and you do your thing with it.
Right.
And if you're that type of person, you definitely want to go the traditional route then.
All right. All
Yeah.
right. And what do you think of there being a lack of male writers in the erotica genre?
Uh, I did notice that. In fact, when I first started, I was going to do it through a publisher, and they told me to change my name to a female name because they say that male authors and don't really sell when it comes to erotica. That people would rather buy erotica from women, and I mean statistically that might be true,
Right.
but that doesn't mean that you should go along with that.
Right.
I mean, sexuality is something that takes more than one person, right?
Right.
So it doesn't make any sense that you only want to hear one side of things.
Right. But that's sort of like, with the whole Madison Avenue attitude that they have the knowledge of what the general public wants, and then it just continuously feeds them that and tells them that's what you want.
Exactly. So you've spent so much time telling people what they want, you haven't really stopped to listen to that anymore.
Exactly. Right. Right.
Like, so it's entirely possible you release this book from these male writers and they'll love it just the same. In fact, it's entirely possible because if all you're doing with male writers is changing the name that's on the book, they're already
Right.
reading male
They're
authors,
already
and
reading.
those books are already selling.
It speaks for itself. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad you decided to do your thing. That professor really fired you up, huh? You was like, never again, damn it.
That's right.
Okay, good. So is there any other places where we can find your work? I know we saw Amazon,
Uh,
Barnes and
so
Noble.
so far it's just Amazon. It's the Kindle ebook versions and the paperback versions. But I am working on my own website so that you'll be able to go directly there to get my books, and you'll be able to read blog posts and get updates on everything that I'm working on.
That's beautiful.
Awesome. Do you have a Patreon?
Oh, what was that?
Do you have a Patreon?
No, not yet.
Get on it, bro.
Absolutely.
Get on it. Because it's basically what you're doing
Mhm.
with your website, but now you give your audience an opportunity to support you.
Yep,
It's the
absolutely.
same thing. So it's just a link or something. You should throw that in there. Each one help one, teach one, all that jazz, right?
Absolutely.
Yep, that works.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a day job? That's one of those questions people want to know about writers.
Absolutely. I am a site manager at a place here in New York that does taxes actually. So so taxes and math and accounting by day and erotica by night. Like day and night. It's just
Quite the contrast. Quite
completely
the
yes,
contrast.
like the contrast.
Yes, yes.
Are you gonna write some erotica about some sexy accountants?
I've thought about it. It's that might even be harder to do than a mystery novel, actually.
Someone wants to know if you have merchandise.
Oh, yeah.
Devin Adams wants to know if you have merchandise.
I do not. I'm thinking about what kind of merchandise I could do. Like,
There's websites. I can look them up for you since we're both in New York, and I wanted to touch base with you after this. But there's a number of websites where companies put their logos on everything: mugs, shirts, hats. You can put the titles of your book.
I got a little sticker right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get all kinds of little trinkets and stuff. I got a
Yeah.
little, yeah.
All sorts of stuff with whatever you want on it, with your branding on it, and you're set. You can sell that on
that sounds great.
Yeah. We support you, obviously, is what we're saying. I'm so happy both of y'all are in the same city. Bo is a great writer, too. One of the things I loved about your book, Seth, or your books, I should say, the excerpts that I read, I have to get the books, I will support, it's a really easy read. It flows well, it reads well, and it's real talk, if you will. This is the language that we use every day when we converse with our people, our kind. So the naturalness of it is what I enjoyed.
Thank you. That was actually really important to me, and I didn't know if I had actually gotten it or not. Because you know how you and your friends and everyone in your circle talk, but then you're not sure if you're actually making sense to a wider audience, people in other states, possibly other countries or not. So I really appreciate hearing that.
And you may have touched on this because I did ask a question earlier, but I'm always multitasking. Are you looking to get into film at all, directing or video?
I probably don't know the first thing about directing, but I would love to talk to anybody who would like to take one of these books and actually put it up on the silver screen somewhere. That'd be amazing.
Okay.
Do you have anything in treatment or oh gosh, what's the other form that you could submit to the streaming services?
Yeah.
Because that's something that I was looking to do, and I'm pretty sure you got the material, the raw material, the raw data for your books, so you could just switch them over to a treatment format, submit it, maybe get something picked up.
And you can shop them around to different film festivals and different independent film agencies and stuff. And there's people that are looking all the time, especially now with the way they stream.
Yes, content is king.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to be looking into it.
Well, Bo's an actor, so there you go.
I'm an actor too.
Actor, commentators, yeah. Co-host, activist, everything. But Seth, we digress. Any last minute things that you want to share with any of the audiences? Anything that you think is pertinent, important, anything, a nugget?
I think the most important thing, just getting back to reminding people that you don't let other people diminish you or your shine. Like you're a writer, you're a dancer, you're a singer, whatever it is, this is who you are, and you cannot let anyone strip that away from you, because that light that's inside of you is there to illuminate something. And if you let it die, who knows who's missing out on the wonderfulness of you, honestly. So you keep that flame alive and you keep it burning bright.
I received that. Do you receive that, Bo?
I receive it. It's very well received.
Yeah. Well, we are going to get out of here. Definitely going to make sure that you and Bo can catch up after the show. Both of y'all again in Brooklyn. So Brooklyn, stand up!
Bed-Stuy!
Two very different approaches. Woo! And
Where are you from in Brooklyn, bro?
But thank you for joining.
Oh, you in Bed-Stuy? Oh, okay. All right.
Y'all down the street? Is that what?
No, we're in Bed-Stuy. No, but man, never mind.
We don't want to do too much.
We'll talk later.
All right.
Yeah, we
You
go.
on the east side or the west side? You on the downtown side or the Bushwick side?
Bushwick side.
There we go. So you more like Ocean Hill then?
No,
Little north?
closer to Fort Greene, actually.
Oh, so you on the other side? Oh, okay. You on the other side? You on the Bedford side?
Yeah.
I got you. All right. Sorry, G. We just had to go on some Bed-Stuy shit.
Y'all good. You know what? I got this. Let me show this little thing right quick. I'm gonna show you this little video that you this picture you took, Bo. I was gonna use this as my backdrop. It's actually Brooklyn, I think. I don't know where this is in Brooklyn.
No, that's not Brooklyn. No, that's Queensbridge Park in Long Island City. But if you need some Brooklyn pictures, I got plenty. I'll send you.
Yeah, let me get some of the BK stuff over here.
I will. I get you correctly. BK street art.
Well, that's it, y'all. Thank you, Seth Moses Caine. We're gonna have to do a book opening or some kind of thing once this COVID is gone, and bring you back on and talk again about some of the stuff that you're doing, and hopefully we all can work together again. Let's all try to help each other. Amazon, check them out. Kindle, and make sure you support. We'll be back next week. It's the freestyle show. Thank you again, Seth. Thank you, Bo. We'll see.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, Kane, I'm gonna get your number if that's cool from Javon, and we're gonna link up.
Right? Absolutely.
All right, cool. Because I got some work, so I want to put past your eyes and see what you think about it.
Sounds good.
All right, we're gonna do some things. Peace. All right, y'all. We're gonna be black next week. We out.
Black.
Bye.